Stone Cold was running amok. He had a big crane and they had a big slab of cement. They were going to drop down on a bus, and the bus was going to explode.
And he puts Cody's blood on the weight belt. Are you kidding me?
I can think of about 8 to 10 superstars that would take it this far.
If you don't hate Rock by now, you'll never hate him. And if you don't love Cody by now, you will never love him more.
The Rock has intentionally or unintentionally made him look smaller.
He took it like a champ.
I could have been world champion if they would have chosen me. Well, we are officially less than 2 weeks away from the big one in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WrestleMania 40. This is Behind the Turnbuckle, your new favorite WWE and wrestling storytime show. He's Big Tommy C. I am the coach, and Tommy, another eventful week in the world of wrestling. Of course, it involved The Rock and Cody Rhodes, but first and foremost, hello again to you, sir.
How are you, sir? And has there ever been a bigger week in WWE than this past with SmackDown and Raw with major superstars there? And wow.
No doubt about it. No. Yeah, so here on the show, if you're brand new, we've only been on for maybe 5 or 6 weeks, but we tell stories here. And we may touch on the bigger stories on SmackDown and Raw, and then we always tie it back to when me and Tommy were in the WWE. Collectively, almost 45 years of experience inside of the WWE. And Tommy, we're going to start right at the top with the biggest story coming out this week. And that, of course, is The Rock showing up on Monday Night Raw. And Tommy, it instantly took me back, which is what the show is all about, to the legendary street fights, the legendary just having fights in the back, setting them up, having everything planned out. I used to love being a part of that. What did you make of The Rock and how far the physicality went on Cody Rhodes Monday night?
Quite frankly, Coach, I was really surprised that it got to that physicality. I didn't think these guys weren't going to touch each other until WrestleMania, but apparently he's making himself the biggest heel ever, and it's making Cody the biggest babyface of all time. I don't know if he's maybe bigger than Hogan back in the day, because Cody is really the scratching and clawing and him getting dragged out there and bleeding. And boy, Coach, Rock is an unbelievable entertainer, because in that show, he came into the ring, the fans are going crazy, and you had the final boss, new look back there with the red lasers. They're loving him. He comes in the ring, stays there 10 minutes, whispers to him. How can a guy turn from a baby face to a heel when they start yelling, Rocky sucks, and he didn't say 2 words? Can anybody do that?
It took me back for an instant, Tommy, to WrestleMania 18. And I remember that week, it was when Rock and Hogan, biggest fight ever, 2 mega giants, 2 megawatt superstars, and they planned for a whole thing. And then the fans dictated it differently. And I don't know what he said to Cody, and I don't care what he said to Cody, but I know this, that this new age fan that's watching this version of The Rock, the final boss, and I love Tommy. I love that he has taken on that name, because you know behind the scenes, it is grinding gears to have somebody called that when you've been there grinding week after week, right? For the last 20 years, Rock's been doing Hollywood. He drops in for a fun WrestleMania match here or there. But Tommy, do you don't think it grinds a few gears backstage to have The Rock come back, make a $30 million payday, and call himself the final boss?
And be on the board of directors of TKO and calling his own shots. Oh. I'm sure there's a major level guy there that is not happy about the whole situation. And it starts with the letter H.
I had somebody on Twitter this week, Tommy. They said, well, I take everything because, by the way, you got quoted this week. Was that your first quote, Tommy?
That was my
on a
first
major
quote.
Website?
Thank you to Sportskeeda. My first quote. I was shocked when I saw that. And I thank you, Sportskeeda, for quoting me. It's just my opinion. So I'm glad they took it and ran with it. They made it a headline.
I still, no matter how long I've been doing this or the level that I've been doing this, it still never doesn't seem cool when I see a quote for myself. So I can only imagine what it was like for you to see your name up there for the first time. Really cool.
Hey, here's a guy who's I've been behind the scenes all my life, Coach. You're bringing me out now doing some on-camera stuff. Always been behind the scenes. And then to see his major website like Sportskeeda, who follows wrestling day and night, to quote me, was just it was a true blessing for me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you to all of you out there. I think sometimes we forget that we're just regular dudes also. We just happen to have very unique jobs and we had a unique perspective on a lot of things that you guys love to see. So, Tommy, as we get back to the fight outside, what made this thing also so cool is fans need to understand when you decide to do a fight scene and you're going to take it outside of the arena, you can't do it before dark. You have to do it live almost because there's always, especially at that Chicago arena, that was the first arena that I ever was on TV with The Rock in January of 2000. We've told the story here on the show. But there's going to be fans standing out there. And even if there's one fan out there, you can't tape that fight scene prior to when it happens live on the air. So if
Right.
you notice, there's rain coming down and it was dark, which means it was I think they clearly shot it live. But to put all those little things, what did you make of the fact that they decided to do that in a cold weather city? And I know there's been some weather in the area; it's raining, and yet it didn't affect them at all, at least in my opinion.
I think it adds to the whole deal of Rock bringing him outside, dragging him in the water. He's in the water with that probably $900,000 suit on, and the fact of the matter that is by his bus. That was the killer for me. It was by Cody's bus, and it was dark out, and he slammed him against the bus, calling him a boy and everything like that. It was really well shot, and it was really good. I really thought they did a great job in handling that. And Rock, of course, he's got the vest on. He's getting rained on. He don't care, but he's just
Don't care.
Cody is just in the puddle. It was just wow. I'm like, wow. I didn't think it was going to get to this.
The subtle messages that you just talked about, the having him slammed against his own name on his bus. Then you see his beloved dog on the side of the bus. And then when you move him over and Rock's attacking him with the bus from the WWE on the other side, whose face was on that bus?
That's right.
John Cena.
Yep.
And so you said he could be the biggest baby face of all time. You don't think for a second when they're mapping out that shot that they didn't put Cena right there so you could see him right over the. I mean, that is next level kind of choreography when it comes to street fights outside. I thought that was brilliant. And I don't know how many fans notice all those little things, but it adds to the mindset, Tommy. And now to your point, I guarantee you there's a lot of people out there just like you. They're like, man, Cody, I feel for him. I
Yep.
want him to reach the mountaintop because every single week something like that could happen to him.
Well, the ultimate heel move for Rock was the weight belt, and it had Mama Rose with the Brahma Bull, and he puts Cody's blood on the weight belt. Are you kidding me?
How about, and this is when I know he's all in. Remember we talked about here on the show that it was somewhat of a not a career. I want to make sure I say this correctly. That for him to take on this role when he's got a huge Disney movie coming out.
Yep.
I mean, Moana 2 is going to be probably the biggest movie of the year. And Tommy, to go back quickly to his in the ring singing and for him to sing Moana song in there as the heel, and then you get nastier. Tommy, not only is he in, he's all in to incorporate that into his promos and then to rub the blood and then say Mama Rhodes how many times? 20,
Yep.
15, 20 times? Tommy, this is maybe as all in as I've seen The Rock since he left in 2002. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, coach. And just bringing in Cody's mama about his mother in there, that's a big heel move, and it makes Cody an even bigger baby face now because now Cody knows he has to scratch and claw even more. Now that Rock
Mhm.
is just bringing in his mother into the whole storyline. So, man, if you don't hate Rock by now, you'll never hate him, and if you don't love Cody by now, you will never love him more.
I mean, that's pretty much all they can do. We're down to, depending on when you're watching this, 8 days, 7 days
Yep.
from WrestleMania night one, night two. And Tommy, they had to figure out how do I make night one interesting? And then what do I do with the match on Sunday night? Do you think they've already decided that? Or are they still trying to figure out what exactly they're going to do with this?
That's a tough question. I think they know what they're gonna do, but that could switch at any moment. As you know,
Mhm.
sometimes things get switched I in the gorilla position. That's happened a couple times too. I'm not gonna say this match is gonna happen like that, but it could be we're going this way, and then go home week in Brooklyn, it could be we're going a different way here.
Right.
So who knows,
I
coach? They got everybody really guessing, and boy, you definitely know who the heel is, and you definitely know who the baby face is. That's for damn sure. And I think Rock wanted that way. He wanted to bring back the old school wrestling where
Mhm.
you have a heel and you have a baby face. So you're either going for one or the other. And that makes people want to buy the pay-per-view, tune into Peacock, and see what the hell's going to happen at WrestleMania.
There was a time during the beatdown of Cody Rhodes, and I love the fact that Cody was a great foil for this, meaning he just, no matter how long The Rock stopped to talk to the camera, you never felt like Cody was going to fight back.
Nope.
Like you never felt like, okay, I mean, this was an absolute beatdown. There was a time that Rock sounded like Ric Flair, I thought, in that promo with a lot of the lines that he was just throwing out. And I'll be honest with you, I think The Rock's in a little bit better shape than what I thought he was
Yeah.
because he never felt like he was out of breath.
Right.
And those street fights, it's really, really hard to stop, talk, say your piece, and then get back and do the beatdown again.
Right.
So I thought The Rock was maybe as good as he's been. But Tommy, are you shocked or surprised? And then we'll move on to the number two storyline from the show that The Rock not only has embraced this, that he's been willing to take this. I mean, you said the word old school. I can think of about 8 to 10 superstars that would take it this far, but not everybody would take it this far. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised because I think he's in all the way with this. And by the way, what's more degrading? He's talking crap while he's beating the hell out of Cody, calling a Southern boy boy. He was called. How many times did he call him
Mhm.
boy while he was beating the hell out of him? I'm superior to you. That's what he's saying. And by the way, Cody's sell job is unbelievable because that makes you think, wow, what can this guy do?
What can he
Is
do?
he going to make it back?
There is not a mountain that he can climb, is what the fans are thinking right now. And I also saw something on social media. And if people don't think that the guys think like this, you're sadly mistaken. And here's what I mean. Somebody compared the championship run of Roman Reigns and Hulk Hogan. Now, little secret, this is made up. I could have been world champion if they would have chosen me. All right, but let's not throw that out there, Tommy.
Right.
Let's make this believe land, okay? And they said he would still need another whatever 300 days or 200 days, whatever it is, to eclipse that of said Hulk Hogan. Now, even though it's yes, we decide the outcomes and all of that, backstage there are still egos. Do you think that is something that Roman Reigns, in some way, shape, or form, is advocating for so he could call himself long term the greatest heavyweight champion or whatever WWE champion of all time?
I'm going to answer that really quick. Hell yeah. Because it's the ego, coach. And by the way, he
Mhm.
would want to go to September to be undefeated because then he would beat Bruno out, the all-time champion. So
Mhm.
egos are large, coach, and he makes you know that when he's cutting promos. So hell yes, he would love to extend it.
And you got to give Roman credit because when he came out on Friday SmackDown, and it was kind of the first time we've seen him, and I know I'm probably missing some stuff here or there, but the first time that we've really felt him without The Rock standing next to him. And we've talked about how The Rock has intentionally or unintentionally made him look smaller as a heavyweight champ or
Right.
WWE champ. There's so many titles, whatever. But no disrespect to the titles, God forbid.
Yep.
Um, but when Roman basically says to Cody, get a new shtick, come up with something new. I thought at that point, how do they get him back? But then they do what they did on Monday night. And so I thought everybody was a winner because I guess I haven't watched a ton of Roman talking. I know he doesn't show up every week, but he is so good now on the mic and believable as the tribal chief that I would take more of that.
You know what the best part of Roman is? And this is what I love about him. He doesn't yell. He talks to you. And I
Yeah.
love promos like that. He talks to you, his facial expressions, him walking around, playing with his beard, doing all this. And
He's
I
in
just
control.
love that. back in the day when people used to scream in your face, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? He talks to you, but he gets his point across. And that's what I love about Roman Reigns.
Great leaders, Tommy, don't get excited. Great leaders take everything with a grain of salt. Great leaders are those type of individuals who always know where everybody is. That's who Roman Reigns has become. And I know certain people will never agree with this, Tommy, but when you're allowed to miss some time, when you're allowed not to show up every single week, guess what? People miss you. People respect you a little bit more. We used to bitch about that for years. Give us some time off. Give us a week off. Give us 2 weeks off. And now, whether it's because of the cancer or not, they have hit a gold mine with this guy. And hopefully, if other guys get to, and women get to that level or close to it, they can follow the same recipe. You don't got to show up every single week to be effective, right?
You're absolutely right, coach. You're absolutely right because the guy doesn't show up every week. Does his pop change when that music hits? Huh? No, it gets even bigger. And then
Hmm.
they're waiting to acknowledge him and he makes you wait. And that's the subtle thing about him is that you play to the crowd, right? You're making them wait and they're saying, "What is he going to do now?" The wise man
Hmm.
gives him the microphone. He waits another minute. He looks around. Milwaukee, acknowledge, and everybody puts their hand up. So has that changed at all because he's
Nope.
gone for 3 weeks?
Nope.
Huh? Not at
Nope.
all.
Nope.
So he's doing the right thing, and I think who's ever handling this whole creative on it is doing definitely the right thing.
I agree. And it's always a hit and miss. I mean, I can remember many, many times where, and again, we talk about Vince McMahon on this show because he was a part of what we did. We're in no way condoning, and I feel like I have to do like a disclaimer
Right.
every time. But the one thing that we were always taught, which is one actually good thing that we learned from growing up in the business, is that you can try stuff, and if it doesn't work, stop doing it and
Right.
then do something else until it hits. Stone Cold Steve Austin was not Stone Cold Steve Austin
Oh,
when he started. And so that's the thing about the business is you try stuff and you get better and you learn and you evolve. And that's kind of what we're seeing,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Now, it's not all good, Tommy, because there's some stuff that A, I'm not believing, B, I just don't like, or maybe C, I'm so wrapped up in the other storyline that this one just doesn't have a lot of juice for me. But I do love Drew McIntyre.
Yes, I do.
But
Me too.
you knew CM Punk was going to come out. Chicago, his town. We get it, whether it's AEW or WWE, it's always going to be the CM Punk show. Okay. Whether you like him or whether you don't. And so last night, Drew McIntyre has started using social media to his advantage. Right now, CM Punk cannot fight. He's got the bad arm. So there's a lot of talking going on. What did you make of the three-way dance verbally that we got last night? First CM Punk, then Drew McIntyre, and then Seth Rollins, all to lead to I'm going to be on guest commentary. And that's all we got out of that, sort of.
It was kind of deflating for me, guest commentary. I mean, I would like to see him be the guest ref because you can go a million different ways with that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who's he going to lean towards, maybe? And then that leads to when he comes back, and it could be an angle with him or Seth or him and Drew. I think they got a little muddled up when they came in the ring, and the heat began with CM Punk and McIntyre, and then Rollins comes out, right? And it's like Rollins is a nobody, and who's going for the match? It's McIntyre and Rollins, and they didn't even talk about each other until Punk kind of left the ring, and then he kicked him. So it got a little discombobulated. I think when you let guys go into business for themselves, I think that's what happened with them, and it got a little messed up by timing and everything like that. So
I'm so glad you said that, Tommy. I really, really am. And I think the point that you just brought up is huge because they're watching what Rock is doing. They're watching what Roman is doing. And I know that Triple H is still in charge back there. I know they have agents back there. I know all of that. But with The Rock calling himself the final boss and The Rock basically writing his own segments with Brian, then I think these three guys are saying, "See, I'm over here. I'm over here. Acknowledge me. Acknowledge me." And I do think you're right. I think they're throwing in a little jabs that don't need to be there. And they come off as very petty. when you have big time personalities, and I said this about Las Vegas. I thought The Rock was a little bit petty in Las Vegas because when you ad lib, nobody's that good of an actor. I mean,
No.
I am, but most people
Right.
are not. And we're seeing that. They're throwing little jabs like petty, like they're 6 years old. I want to see big time stars fight verbally like big time stars. Am I making sense?
Absolutely. If I'm McIntyre, he's sitting there at the commentator's desk, and he's got his feet up, and you know he swore and he said, "PG, brother, that was an improv." I'm like,
Hmm.
screw this. I'm going in the ring and I'm jumping in Seth's face. It's not about Punk. It's about us going at it at WrestleMania. Make that match bigger. And the way you make that match bigger is you jump in Seth Rollins' face. Seth was like the third wheel there to me because Punk and McIntyre just kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and
But
forth.
Tommy, they gave Seth the physicality though.
I know they
They
did. I
let it.
think they had to do that. I think that
I think
had to
they did,
happen.
but then I think it makes Drew look stupid.
Yeah,
You're
it
gonna walk
does.
into the ring and you're not gonna have the eye on the guy that you're fighting, but
Right.
you're looking at CM Punk, and that allows you to take two
That's
and
right.
nothing in return,
And that's what
right?
Seth is saying. Hey, I'm over here, dude. Bam, right in the
Boom.
face. So,
Right. I know what they're trying to do, and
yeah,
maybe they felt like when they were practicing it, well, we need something else because there is that heat
yeah,
between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. But all in all, I thought it made Drew look a little bit stupid, and I love Drew. God,
yeah,
do
I
I
do
love Drew.
too. I think
And
he's an old school heel, and I love that, man. I think he can
100%.
carry that belt for a title. I'm sorry, the belt holds your pants up. I remember that getting drilled in your head. Couldn't talk about it. You write that in a script to a guy, man, you get killed. Oh my God, a belt holds your pants up. It's a title. That came right from the
Oh,
chairman back in the day, not to mention him so much, but it's
can't say
just,
pro wrestling either.
huh? That's
Couldn't say pro wrestling
Well, now they
either.
are. It's really weird. You see how things have changed a little bit? They all say pro wrestling now. And I think that's a little
100%.
jab at the old school who used to run
There's
the
no question.
show, if you know what I mean. Because a
Yeah,
lot of
there's
changes have happened at WWE, even production wise, but I won't get into that now. So,
I will say this that I think that after WrestleMania, we're going to see a lot of changes. A lot of changes. So, two more things before we get to story time. So, I keep calling it a street fight. I'll say a backstage fight. It got me to thinking, Tommy, about some of the great backstage segments that you and I were a part of back in the day. And to me, the number one best backstage fight that I was there for, to me, it's the all timer. It has got to be Stone Cold Steve Austin and Booker T in that grocery store. Do you agree?
I agree. It was not only great, it was entertaining as hell and funny. And only two guys, Stone Cold and Booker T, sold that thing like there was no tomorrow. And it was funny as shit. Excuse my language, man. It was real. It's, you know what it is? It's entertaining.
Correct.
They made that supermarket become entertaining. Two guys wrestling inside a supermarket made it entertaining and made you want to watch even more.
And I remember back then, and this is a little behind the scenes, which is what Behind the Turnbuckle is all about. They're like, well, why would the grocery store agree to let you tear up a grocery store? There is a thing called a big old fat check. And every time we did a behind the scenes fight, the company would pay whatever that establishment was to fix everything. So every single egg, every single thing of flour, every single gallon of milk that was
Milk.
spilled, they literally rang it up at the front thing, and the company paid for that
Oh yeah.
and for some renovations. Tommy, this grocery store couldn't have been more excited because the bottom line was they sold all of those groceries in that fight. And what wasn't it like 12 or 15 minutes, something like that? It was long.
Oh, it was
It was
long. Yeah, it
long.
was absolutely at least 12 minutes. I think it was more like 15 minutes if I remember
It
right.
was.
And
They went all the way back into the cooler and all that kind of stuff. Oh, it was
but
crazy.
very entertaining. Very entertaining.
Very entertaining. And it also, speaking of paying off, do you remember? And I know you know the name because it's the the uh, the bar in Providence that we always used to.
Timmy White's bar.
Jimmy White's bar. Do you remember? What was that?
I
What was the name of
forgot the
that place?
name of it. Oh, it was the
Wasn't it
horseshoe
the Friendly Tap? Was it the
friendly
Friendly Tap?
tap.
Was it
That's it.
Friendly Tap? That's what I was. So those were the fights, Tommy, with JBL and the
Acolytes. Yep.
APA, the Acolytes, and Timmy White loved it because
Yeah.
every time he needed a remodel, remember, he they would be like, "Okay, let's go have a fight at the Friendly Tap," and those were legit fights,
Oh,
Tommy.
yeah.
The APA was no joke.
Yeah.
Was no
JBL and,
joke.
Simmons were no joke, dude. They were shooters.
Shooters, and what Tommy means
Yeah.
is, like, they would punch for real. They
Yeah.
would to them, everything was real,
Yes.
and that's in those type of fights, you need that.
Yep.
You need that. Tommy, so what was the Mankind one you were gonna talk about?
It was, Mankind it was SummerSlam in, Gund Arena in Cleveland. It was Mankind, Undertaker in a Boiler Room match.
That's
And
right.
do you remember that?
That's right. That was right before I got to the company.
Yep. And they had pipes in there. They were climbing pipes. They were going into boilers and everything like that. It was a nasty, physical, violent wrestling match. That's what I remember it. And I mean, like, who's more aggressive and more violent than Mick? You could do anything with him. I mean, the
Mhm.
pipes alone they were hitting him with, and then the steam coming out and everything like that. That was one of my most memorable matches, also. So it was.
Yeah,
It,
it was the type of situation because Mick Foley understood who he was. He's not a
right,
great athlete.
right.
He had to do those matches to get over. But what people need to understand at home that are listening or watching this right now, Tommy, is those are one takers.
Yep.
You cannot do those over. It's not like you're filming a movie scene
Nope.
and you go, "Oh, we didn't like it. Well, you got to do that over again."
Nope.
Whether it's the grocery store, whether it's the bar, whether it's the boiler room, you can only do that one time, which was impressive from a talent standpoint, but from a cameraman standpoint, and we used to be, I mean, we were such good friends with all of those camera guys
Yeah.
because they made me or whoever else come to life in those type of situations, even Mankind,
Yep.
even in a boiler room.
And they would even take bumps too, unexpected bumps, and they would
No
get what
doubt.
they would call bump pay. Bump pay is when they're part of they're not part of the match, they're there and they get hit, get knocked over, the company would give them what they call bump pay. So they
Yep.
they loved it, but great camera guys, great shots. And by the way, you can't rehearse that stuff because of all the pipes they had and the ladders they had and everything like that. They can walk it through and say, "I'm going to do this," but if there's a
Hmm.
spot and that pipe really hits Mankind in the head and he's on Queer Street, now Taker's got to carry him through the whole match.
That's
So
100% right. 100% right.
you got to watch
Now,
what you're doing.
there was one that for all the good moments, Tommy, there were a couple of squirrely moments. Let's call them that. And I'll never forget one night. Stone Cold was back, and he had some physical issues. He couldn't, wrestle matches, so they had to, he would do different things and run, different departments. And I'll never forget. And I can't remember the city, but the whole storyline, Tommy, was Stone Cold was running amok. He had a big crane, and they had a big slab of cement that they were going to drop down on a bus, and the bus was going to explode. And the entire McMahon family was in the ring. I believe all of them were there. And they were supposed to stand there and watch it on the big screen as Stone Cold ruined the bus,
Right,
which is like $300,000.
right.
Tommy, I kid you not. It took that crane dropping that thing, which was tied to a rope, if I remember correctly, 28 times or 30 times before it actually hit hard enough to explode. So imagine, Tommy, you got all these people, the referee, the announcers that are out at ringside, an entire arena of people watching this thing over and over. Now, when it aired on SmackDown, it was one time, boom.
Boom.
Luckily, it was SmackDown. Can you
Yeah.
imagine if that would have happened on Raw, Tommy?
Oh my God, it would have been crazy. What the?
You tried to do that thing live?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'll never forget how angry everybody was.
Right.
What is going on 30 times? It doesn't always go right, does it, Tommy?
That's
Doesn't always
television,
go right.
coach. You never.
No,
That's why that show was live to tape, and when you saw it, it happened once.
that's it. They still put way too much. People that love SmackDown, they know what I'm talking about. All the extra crowd sweetening that they would do, where you could barely hear Michael Cole at times
Right.
because it was so loud.
Yeah.
Like, no crowd is that loud for 2 hours. They're just not. It's unrealistic. They didn't want to listen to me.
It's always on the
Uh,
opposite side of the arena too.
It is, right? It's
Yeah.
funny how that works.
Yeah.
Funny how that works. So here on the show every single week, Behind the Turnbuckle, first of all, thank you for tuning in. We also from time to time look at the WWE Rivals show because I think A&E has done a phenomenal job of going back and reliving some of the great rivalries in pro wrestling and WWE history. So, Tommy, this week, and it was something that I'm very, very close to, the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, Edge, and Christian. I rode with Christian for almost 3 years. We were part of what we called the car with the Hurricane. And the Dudley Boys and I, we had many mix ups in the ring and me going through multiple tables. And so, what did you make of this rivalry, which I think really, I mean, truly put tag team wrestling and the extreme matches on the map?
Well, they put it on the map, coach, and it was 3 tag teams that were great workers and creative as hell, and it put
Mm-hmm.
that stuff on the map of ladder tables, ladders, and chairs. It was a pay-per-view. It became a
Mm-hmm.
pay-per-view, right?
TLC. Yeah, it
T
became its own thing.
and they be and, you know, they the upper management back then let them go into business for themselves, but the most important thing out of that whole deal is, and we talked about this a couple of weeks back, is safety. Always remember, we're not gonna do this spot unless it's safe for you, gonna make sure you're not gonna get hurt, I mean, there's no guarantee you're not gonna get hurt, but it was always safety first. But these
Mm-hmm.
guys they just brought it to another level. The best spot I love about this whole thing is when Edge is on the ladder, Jeff Hardy's holding on, then he tackles him. And if you notice in Rivals, he said, "I I jumped forward. If I did that, I would have grabbed him by his waist or something, and he would have fell on his head." So he held himself. Stuff when you hear stuff like that, coach, you go, "Wow, he was that close of landing the wrong way." And Jeff Hardy was just a rubber band man. He was like, man, he fell, and it was like, oh my god, it's he was fine. And
There's people like that. There
yeah,
there are I mean, Chris Jericho was like that.
yep.
You know, Jericho never got hurt. And I had so many people tweet at me when I tweeted out about how dangerous the spot was in the AEW pay-per-view. And I stand by that. And they're like, "Oh, what about Jeff Hardy? What about Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon?" Okay, those spots happened, but there was safety involved in those spots.
But they
That's
meant
completely
something.
different.
They meant
Correct.
something.
It
That's a
wasn't a guy getting
story.
up and leaving 8 seconds before a guy jumps off for no reason, a ladder through glass. That's completely different. But Jeff Hardy was the guy. If you're talking about a guy that, and he's had, everybody knows all the issues he's had over the
Yes.
years. And I always wonder what his career, Tommy, would have been like if he would not have had all this issue because he had a lot of great years, but he was also absent for a lot of great years too.
Yeah, he was. He could have been a really huge star. Like again, his own demons got to him, and kids loved him, his look, his gothic
Hmm.
look. He was before his time a little bit, you know that? If you really
Yeah.
think about with the face paint, and I know we had gold dust and stuff, but he was with the hair and the color. I mean, he begged to be different, and he was a gazelle in that ring, dude. I mean, he
Oh, he
was
could
so
work.
smooth.
He could work.
Man,
And they tried, Tommy. They tried to go singles at certain times. They tried to, just like Edge and Christian tried to go single, but they were never as big as when they were all together
yep.
as the Dudley Boys, as the Hardy Boys, as Edge and Christian. Now, Tommy, I'll never forget when I became a heel. I had to start, they would have me do some ring announcing as part of storylines so that I could be involved in the physicality. And the first day I walked in, and Chris Jericho and all these guys were involved in a match. Well, it was going to end with your boy going through a table.
Oh, wow.
And it was like I would, announce the wrong winner of the match, or I've said Chris Jericho instead of the Dudley Boys, whatever it was. And I'll never forget, I went up to Bubba Ray and I was like, "How do you even land?" Because in real time, it looks like you bang your face on the side, the side of your face on the mat. Tommy, it is such like his shoulder was like a pillow. Like going down was so soft. I didn't feel it at
Really?
all. Like and I said I would rather go through a table than go straight to the mat like a lot of people do. And people are like, "Are you crazy?" I said, "No. The table kind of softens your fall,
Yeah.
and my head is right here. But it's a scary thing to go through a table. But I was tougher than I thought. I was kind of proud of myself, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, you'd rather go through a table than a mat anyway. There's only so much give on that mat, man, and that's it. And by the
Mhm.
way, he's carrying you, so he's protecting you, which is a good thing to have, man. So he's a true professional in every way, shape, or form. So,
And you have to trust him. I'm glad you brought that up.
yep,
People say all the time, you got to trust him because Devon has your waist and your arms are down to the side. So you have to trust him. And that's where the professionalism comes in. It doesn't matter if Bubba Ray liked me or not.
right.
He was going to protect me because that's what you do.
Yep.
And that's what I think when I see all of those guys. By the way, one other backstage fight, Tommy, that we didn't bring up that is legendary
What's
before
that?
we get to story time.
What's that?
Do you not forget? And I don't remember the building, but we were in England. We were in Europe. And it was me chasing down Hornswoggle all over the building. We had a food fight. We had so many different things. Do you remember that? Me and
I remember
Hornswoggle?
that.
Oh my
I remember
God.
that. Oh my
Oh my
God.
God. He was climbing up on tables and he was
Uh,
eating as
that dude was a
that was the
trip,
most
man.
fun.
He
Oh
was a
my
trip.
God. Oh
Major Ribber backstage, ribbing people, fooling around, stuff like that. But really a true professional, and made you look good. And that again, entertaining stuff, and that's what we do. It's
yeah.
entertaining. There's reasons
I
why
loved
we do stuff all the time, and
I
that's what you gotta have. So
You had to, and he was very proud of the fact that he was the first. I don't even know what's appropriate. The first midget to have a full time WWE contract. There's been others that have performed, but he was a full time superstar.
yep,
And him and I worked together for months and months and months and months. And
yep.
people ask me all the time, "What was the stiffest thing you ever took? Like what hurt the most?" And they're always shocked, Tommy, when I say Hornswoggle, the frog splash off the top rope, and they're like, "Why?" I'm like, because when you take it from Rob Van Dam, his whole body can actually, you know, take the blow.
Yep.
With Hornswoggle, he was so much shorter
Yeah.
that his whole body landed on me. All whatever,
That's all
150
dead
pounds,
weight.
180 pounds,
That's dead
dead
weight.
weight. Yeah.
And he's only
But he
four
was
eight.
always safe. He was always right here. But you got all of it. You
Yep.
got all of it.
Absolutely.
God,
Yep.
I love my guy. I love my guy. All right, it is that time of the show. We do it every single show, whether it's Tommy or whether it's me. It's story time with the boys. And Tommy, we're going to go to a match with the Dudley boys. And this speaks to just how much certain guys back in the day were detail oriented and they didn't want to ruin their pop. So I mentioned to you that I started ring announcing at house shows and certain TV shows because it allowed for different finishes at house shows. So we were in West Palm Beach. It was a Sunday afternoon, and they were trying to speed things up so there was no intermission, right? And the main event, Tommy, was supposed to be the Dudley Boys against Chris Jericho and Christian in a tables match.
Wow.
Well, Tommy, you know this better than anybody. If you announce to the crowd that somebody's going through a table, damn it, what needs to happen?
Somebody goes through a table.
Somebody's going to go through a table. Now, there are agents that we talk about. They're the older former talent that help these guys put a match together. Nobody had come down. Nobody had talked to me. So as Jericho's coming down, Christian's coming down, and they're calling me an idiot. You're a moron. What are you doing? And I'm like, I had no idea what they're talking about. Down comes Fit Finley. And he goes, as the match is starting, he goes, somebody has to go through a table because you announced it. So that's going to be you now. I'm like, what are you
What?
talking about? Yes. So now we're now talking to the guys as they're doing the match because we were really, really good at talking and the crowd wouldn't even know that we were talking. So the finish of the match was a 3D. So Bubba Ray Dudley was so detail oriented, he didn't want to do two 3Ds. He wanted to do a different finish. Now, Tommy, this is West Palm Beach. Maybe 2,000 people on a Sunday afternoon.
Right.
Right. So what do you think Bubba Ray wanted to do after the match was over?
More?
Well, he didn't want to do the 3D. He would prefer to do the power bomb
Oh,
off the top rope through the table.
through top rope?
Off the top rope through the table.
You on him?
And yes, just like you would see on TV. And it's less than 2,000 people. So I'm sitting there and I'm kind of weighing my options. I'm like, do I fight him on it? Do I say no to it? there's less than 2,000 people. It's not, no matter what they were going to pay me, it wasn't going to be enough. It was going to be 300 to 500 bucks. I did all of that in my head, Tommy, all of it.
Wow.
And so we kept arguing. And I was like, no, let's do the 3D. No, let's do it, going back and forth. So we get done. Devon grabs me, rolls me into the ring. And at this point, I make a business decision. And I said, I'm going to deadweight him. And what deadweighting is when you don't help him get yourself up. So Bubba Ray's sitting in the corner up on the top rope, and Devon's trying to get me up. And I'm like, 250 pounds of me, just deadweighting him.
Wow.
And so finally, Bubba Ray's like holding me like this. And finally, he was like, not more I can do. And he just lets me go because I was getting so heavy that there was nothing he could do. He had to let me go. Luckily, perfectly right through the table. And so it was kind of it wasn't a power bomb. It was more of a floaty bomb. We can call it the floaty bomb. How about that?
So
So
nobody smartens you up beforehand. I mean,
no,
fit comes out during the match. That never happens.
correct.
Never. I've never seen
Correct.
that. All the years I was on the road, and they decide to do a spot and not let you know about it or rehearse it earlier on or anything like that. And being a guy who's not one of the superstars, wow.
That was the thing, Tommy. It wasn't about Bubba Ray or the
No.
Dudleys. It was about the fact we hadn't practiced it.
Right.
And when you do something like that, I need to know the feel. I need to know what it's like. You put a pad down. All of those things would have happened the next day at Monday Night Raw. We could have practiced it. We had not practiced it. So it wasn't on Bubba Ray. It wasn't on the Dudleys. It was on the fact that those in the back didn't feel the need to tell me. But I also kind of took it as a respect thing because they just assumed that I would know how to do it or that I'd be
Wow.
comfortable doing.
That's a
So
big
there, you know,
that's a big assumption, buddy.
I
But you
know.
took it like a champ, and that's what you did.
Took it like a champ, went through the table. I would probably say I went through 4 or 5 tables, if I'm remembering correctly. It's a lot of years, a lot of arenas,
When you fall,
a lot of
right?
matches.
I mean, when you
Uh-huh.
fall, your arms go back, right? Isn't that the way they teach you?
No, you don't want to reach because when you reach, you can dislocate your shoulders because you're trying to grab yourself, and that's not the way you want to. But through a table is different. You never want to. But if you're just taking a flat back or anything like that, you attack the mat, attack it, and then that makes the sound, and then also it allows you to everything goes down at the same time. If you reach back, then now the shoulders come into play, and that's dangerous. So you never want to do that. You never want to do that.
They never
So,
gimmicked the tables, right? It was just a plain
oh no,
table.
plain table, never had a gimmick for it. You go right through it. And, there were times where guys would get cut because, the table has
Yeah,
metal stuff on it.
the
I mean,
wire, the tin on there,
yeah,
whatever that is, the strap.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dangerous form of entertainment. And
Wow.
people need to understand that.
That's right.
But those 3 guys, Dudley's, Hardys, and Edge and Christian,
Took care of each other.
they took care of each other. And they knew that the better they were together, Tommy, the better their careers were going to be. If
That's
they
right.
would not have worked together, and I've said that many, many times, whether it's on commentary or whatever it is, the better you do this and you raise all the ships, everybody's going to get paid.
That's right.
Everybody's going to get that check.
That's
I've
right.
never understood, Tommy, a superstar, and there's been tons of them that have been like, you know what? Not working with that guy, even
Right.
though it would have been tons of money.
Right.
Nope, can't work with that guy. I hate him. Really? So you're going to leave $500,000, $1 million out on the table because you couldn't work with that guy? I've never understood that.
Check your ego at the door, buddy.
At the door.
Yep.
At the door. Tommy, we have one more episode before we get to WrestleMania. So I thought next week it'd be kind of fun to do our best WrestleMania matches, but also our best WrestleMania memories. I've been to 16 WrestleManias. How many have you been to?
At least 20, 22 maybe, something like
Wow.
that. I've been to a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right,
I
so
know a
next
lot of
week's going to be
moments.
well, you better have them ready for
Yeah.
next week's episode.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. Then after WrestleMania, we're going to start incorporating interviews here on the show, and we've already have a confirmation from none other than Hurricane Shane Helms. He'll be here right on the show in the next couple of weeks to tell all of his stories.
Another
Riding
entertaining
the ring.
character.
He's the greatest. He was actually in my wedding.
I
Do you know
know.
that?
I was there.
You were there.
That's right.
Maybe you were the bad luck Tommy.
May
Maybe I could blame it on you.
we'll end it right there.
There we go. On that, we dropped the mic. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Behind the Turnbuckle. Every single week, subscribe if you don't already. Hit the like button. It really helps us grow. And share the show for
Yes.
anybody out there
Yes.
that you think likes these stories. Tommy, less than 2 weeks, baby.
Wow.
Biggest show of the year. I can't wait. Have a great week, all right, man?
You too. Take care.
All right. That's going to do it for Big Tommy C. I'm the coach, and always never forget about producer man behind the scenes, always
Yes,
making the
sir.
show look like $1,000,000. I am simply the coach. We'll see you next week for another entertaining episode of Behind the Turnbuckle. Take care.